and I'm not
now combing through morality clauses like surgeons. Corporate lawyers are reportedly digging into a pill by someone from her own entourage. She passed out and was then carried onto the aircraft unconscious. When they found her, she was still strapped to her seat folded over. That's not gossip. That's in the official record.
There are people who did short sales on their stocks right after that, made a lot of money, including Sean Carter. Now I'm going to ask you, why would non-disclosure agreements need to be signed for an accident?
So the real question is, who greenlit that flight? Who made the last-minute call to switch planes, downsize the aircraft, rush the equipment? And more importantly, who had the most to gain from Aaliyah's tragic exit, right as her music and film careers were set to take off? Some industry insiders aren't looking at Damon Dash, the man who publicly mourned her for years. They're pointing fingers deeper into the Rockefeller circle, toward those who may have seen Aaliyah not as a rising star, but as a threat. She was young, iconic, already a legend, and had she lived, there's no doubt she could have dominated both Hollywood and music. Would Beyonce have ascended to queen status if Aaliyah was still here? That's the uncomfortable question, and it's only getting louder. Let's not forget Jay-Z and Diddy were tight back then, still are, at least in public. Remember their flashy black billionaires brunch in 2020? Champagne glasses clinking, living like kings, but we've seen how that played out for Diddy. Raids, lawsuits, scandal after scandal. Now, Jay-Z's name is showing up in those same court filings, linked to a disturbing accusation dating back to the year 2000. He denies it all, calls it extortion, says he won't pay a cent, but denial doesn't stop the rumors, and it sure doesn't clean the blood off that runway in the Bahamas.
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact find.
Because here's what we're starting to realize.
Because here's what we're starting to see. This isn't just about a secret daughter, or even two. It's about a pattern. The cover-ups. The silence that always seems to shield powerful men like Jay-Z. Take Ramir's case, buried in court after court, bounced around like some legal hot potato. Letitia, her story's never been
keeps benefiting off the same kind of tragedy over and over.
Now, let's be clear, no one's saying Jay-Z had anything to do with what happened to Aaliyah. But when you look at the names involved, the opportunities that followed, and the eerie silence still surrounding her crash, you can't help but ask, who benefited the most from her absence? Which brings us to now 2025. Jay-Z is under fire from all angles. DNA rumors, resurfaced lawsuits, his connection to the scandal-ridden Diddy, and a new would not stay hidden for much longer. Even more unsettling, a music supervisor who worked on Aaliyah's posthumous licensing reportedly told a source, "Every time we tried to finalize a deal, someone from Roc Nation blocked it. Not with paperwork, with silence." The implication? That Jay-Z had a deep interest in keeping Aaliyah's estate locked up, not just for business, but to control the story, because if her catalog stayed frozen, if the money stayed delayed, then those tied to her legacy, maybe even her daughter, if Letitia's claims are real, wouldn't have the power or platform to speak out.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
And let's not act like this kind of maneuvering is anything new. Industry insiders have said for years Jay-Z's true genius isn't just in music, it's in strategy. He's the guy who makes problems disappear, who silences lawsuits before they're filed, who buys stories before they ever see daylight. And that's what makes the Letitia Mason situation so dangerous, because if even one of these alleged financial links is proven, if a single payment can be traced from Aaliyah's royalties into Letitia's world, then it's not just a matter of secret paternity. It becomes something else entirely. financial exploitation tied to a cover-up. And that's not just scandalous, it's criminal. There's another disturbing thread being pulled. To one that few dare to touch. Was Letitia's mother part of a larger silencing effort? Family friends say she suffered in silence for years, that her health took a serious decline in the 2010s, and that every time she tried to seek legal recognition, she wasn't met by Jay-Z himself, but by lawyers, threats, settlements, non-disclosure agreements. We may never see the full paper trail, but here's what we do know. Letitia isn't asking for money now. She's asking for the truth, and in this industry, that terrifies people more than any lawsuit ever could.
So, as you guys are coming in that you can hear me and see me, I'm pretty sure that you can. This is some exclusive tea that I got a little while back.
And through all of this, Jay-Z remains publicly silent. His team has denied everything, calling it harassment, distractions, smear campaigns. But in a case like this, silence doesn't read as strength. It reads as suspicion, especially as more voices start creeping out of the shadows. One former Rockefeller road manager who refused to go on the record reportedly told a podcast host something chilling. Letitia isn't the only one. There were others. He allegedly said, "We were told to keep them off the radar, pay the moms, shut it down." That podcast episode, never released, the host claims they were hit with legal threats. Make of that what you will. And then there's Damon Dash, whose silence in all of this is becoming its own kind of mystery. This is the same man who once mourned Aaliyah more publicly and emotionally than anyone else in the industry. He called her the love of his life. He blamed the industry for the chaos that led to her final days. And yet now, as scandal after scandal pulls Jay-Z back into Aaliyah's legacy through Letitia Mason, Dame has said nothing. No interview, no tweet, no Instagram post. And for someone who's never been afraid to speak his mind, that silence doesn't feel casual. It feels intentional, maybe even calculated.
A lot of potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in. Because, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do. But some people are around.
What makes this even more intriguing is the unfinished business between Damon Dash and Jay-Z, their legendary fallout over Rockefeller, the fight for creative control. The bitter split in 2004 still hangs like a ghost over the hip-hop world. Dash has never held back when it comes to Jay-Z. He's called him out in interviews, especially when talking about betrayal and shady business moves. But now, with both his former friend and his former business partner tied up in a DNA scandal that echoes the name Aaliyah, Dash is nowhere to be found. And no comment, no interview, no appearance. Some insiders think legal threats might be keeping him quiet. Others believe he's protecting something or someone, because if there's even a whisper that Dame knew about Letitia, or if hush money was paid out using funds connected to Rockefeller, then this silence isn't about loyalty. It's about liability. And then there's a question nobody wants to say out loud. What does Damon Dash know that he's not telling us? He was there, in the rooms, on the tours, inside the machine that turned Aaliyah and Beyoncé into global icons. He saw it all, the deals, the whispers, the early moves before anything hit the press. So his silence now, it doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It feels controlled. And in a scandal defined by cover-ups and quiet deals, his silence might be the loudest signal yet.
So why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup.
There's a storm coming, and you can feel it in the air. Courtrooms are circling. Contracts are quietly being dissected. Former allies are vanishing from Jay-Z's inner circle. Even Beyoncé, usually front and center, has gone silent. No. Met Gala. No public appearances. Not even a single Instagram story in weeks. Is she preparing to stand by him or protecting her own legacy? That's the million-dollar question. Because if Matthew Knowles drops that DNA truth bomb and connects the money trail back to Alia's estate, then everything changes. Every narrative, every carefully crafted image, every flawless family portrait. And if Letitia Mason really is Jay-Z's daughter, if a paternity test proves it, what happens to Blue Ivy's inheritance? What about the twins? Does Jay-Z's trust have a clause for undisclosed heirs? And if it does, how long has he known? We could be watching the beginning of a full-blown empire collapse, the unraveling of a myth that's been polished and sold to us for over 2 decades. And if Matthew Knowles truly has the receipts, if the man who built the brand was also the one buried by it and now chooses to step into the spotlight, then the Carter-Knowles dynasty might just be standing on borrowed time. So tell me, what do you think? Is this the final chapter in Jay-Z's carefully guarded legacy? Is the truth finally catching up to the king of Rock Nation? Or are we only beginning to scratch the surface of something far darker? Drop your thoughts, your receipts, and your wildest theories in the comments below. And until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep your eyes on the throne.